Good evening, good evening. You're locked and loaded with the HBCU Hub and our HBCU Week. Welcome to our Black Male panel. Tonight, I'm joined by some very positive and powerful brothers as we discuss the Black Male Achievement Gap. Basically, namely, why are we seeing low enrollment numbers of our Black and Brown brothers at our historically Black colleges and universities? As I said, I'm joined by some very powerful and positive brothers that will participate in this panel discussion. And so, really quickly, I am going to introduce you to our panelists. All right, we're going to start with Mr. Toyin. Toyin holds a bachelor's degree in education from Temple University and a certification in nonprofit management from Medgar Evers College. Toyin is a 2015 Echoing Greens Fellow for Black Male Achievement. He was born and raised in East New York, Brooklyn. He's a servant leader, consultant, a nonprofit founder who has been featured on ABC7 New York, NBC, Forbes, and the Huffington Post. Answering the social entrepreneurship calling in 2011, Toyin founded Tomorrow's Leaders NYC, or TLNYC, the only organization in the country that provides overage middle school students with the support services they need to develop leadership, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills. Through TLNYC's programming, his program enrolls students. They receive academic and family support, mentoring, and career readiness opportunities during and outside of school time. The organization encourages goal setting, self-discipline, and skill development in students while tending to their social and emotional needs. Through his leadership, his organization has produced a variety of success stories and has seen a 95% grade promotion rate from enrolled middle schoolers in the program. All right, welcome, Toyin. Our next panelist is Mr. Curtis Cox. Curtis has been a devoted advocate for education and personal development for almost 20 years. He is born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He graduated from SUNY New Paltz in 2004 with a double major in business management and Black studies. Throughout his life, Curtis felt the need that everyone should have equitable opportunities to better their way of life. From that personal desire, Curtis became dedicated to empowering high school, college, and young adult individuals through his work for various nonprofit organizations in his early career. He recently launched his own career coaching platform, Curtis Careers, where he is working with college students and young adult professionals, helping them acquire the skills needed to maximize their professional goals. His advising specialties include job search techniques, career and college exploration, self-assessments, resume writing, personal branding, social and career networking, cover letters, LinkedIn profile development, interview prep and methods, leadership development, and emotional intelligence. All right, welcome Curtis Cox to the panel. We also have Sharif D. King. Sharif, also known as King Sharif, is a multimedia host, personality, entertainment, culture, lifestyle, and sports journalist and producer hailing from Harlem by way of the Bronx. King is dedicated to broadcasting, creating, and producing award-winning content for both the Z generation and the millennials to follow through Sharif D. King Media and his crown. King has worked with brands such as Hot 97, BET Networks, Radio 1, Dopeness Magazine, The Rap Fest, and more. He's proud to represent Delaware State University and speak on both the impact and intricate role that his HBCU has had in his life. Welcome, Sharif, to the panel. Our next panelist, Mr. Michael Sante. Michael was recently promoted to the Senior Director of Compliance and Membership Services in July 2019, after previously serving as the Director of Compliance and Membership Services for the Big East Conference since March 2017. In his roles at the Big East, Sante serves as the primary contact for compliance officers and academic personnel for all 11 Big East member institutions, oversees all student athlete advisory committee programming and initiatives, and executes academic curricula that assist in the development of student athletes and general students of the league's member institution. Michael earned his master's degree in sports administration from Georgia State University in 2012. Prior to Georgia State, Michael graduated from the illustrious Johnson C. Smith University in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2009 with his bachelor's degree in physical education with a concentration in sports management. Welcome, Michael, to the panel. Okay, we also have Mr. Simon Obus, Dr. Simon Obus. Okay, today He lives his passion for social justice every day, serving as a high school principal, author, and philanthropist. With a diverse educational background, including a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, a Master's in Social Work, and a doctorate in Urban School Leadership, Dr. Obus has developed an immersive educational approach that blends practical experience with an understanding of social advocacy and emotional well-being. As a well-loved educator and activist, Dr. Obus' leadership and message of resilience and racial equity has resounded throughout major boroughs in New York and cities throughout Connecticut. As an author, he has earned a national platform sharing his learned wisdom in the personal empowerment work of his first book, The Grind. Dr. Obus has walked in the shoes of the youth that he serves, and his empathetic fire for their advancement permeates all he does. Rising from humble beginnings as the son of Haitian immigrants, Dr. Obus is a first-generation college graduate. As an undergraduate, Dr. Obus chose Johnson C. Smith University, a historically Black college where he surrounded himself with African-American role models in his pursuit of excellence. Although it was not easy to afford the opportunity, he found that the college provided a safe haven for educational success, opening doors to which African-American youth like himself could finally chase their dreams. Welcome, Dr. Obus, to the panel. And our final panelist is Mr. Dewan Thomas. Dewan is married to his wonderful wife of 9 years, Stephanie Thomas. They have 4 wonderful children: Maia, who's 13, Ladarian, who's 11, Dewan Jr., who's 4, and his son Drake, who's 2. He thanks God every day for his family that he's blessed with. He graduated from Vanguard High School in Ocala, Florida in 2000, received a full athletic scholarship to attend Johnson C. Smith University, received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Johnson C. Smith University, and he's currently a coordinator for the Marion County School Board with Alternative Learning Department. He and his wife are owners of Open Hands Ministry, LLC, a residential habitation center, and CEO of D&S Development, a real estate development company that develops underprivileged areas around the country. Let's welcome all of the panelists to the live. Okay, so as I mentioned, tonight we're talking about the Black male achievement gap. Namely, a lot of our institutions of higher learning are seeing very low enrollment numbers from Black and brown male students. So I have 3 questions that will sort of, I guess, spark our conversation. And so the first question says, what outside factors are contributing to low enrollment numbers of Black men at our colleges and universities? I'll repeat the question again. Question number 1, what outside factors are contributing to low enrollment numbers of Black men at our colleges and universities?
I guess I'll crank it up. For me, I think is, as far as there's not as many mentors. I think in my community, we're getting to a point where we have gentlemen like myself that have attended HBCUs that are now explaining to the younger generation how the culture is. I give, for example, my own kids, when I took them to FAMU's homecoming, they just enjoyed themselves. They didn't realize this, and I also took them to a Florida State game, and they see the difference. And so just exposing our kids, more college tours. I remember being in college. We had kids from all over the country come through the college tours. It's all about exposure. Our kids now, everything is so quick, easy access, technology. So to me, as well as exposure, the HBCUs have to invest in advertising more on the social media platform. I think they're doing a good job now, more than ever, because I think they're realizing, they're seeing the numbers. Of course, they're tracking the data. I think we're heading in the right direction. It kind of took some of this social injustice and some of this police brutality. You see some of the number 1 basketball player in the country actually signing with Howard, and some football players actually signing with Jacksonville State with Deion Sanders. So I think we're heading in the right direction. But I think overall, just exposing our kids, having more mentors in our communities, explaining to kids that these HBCUs are great opportunities for them to get educated, just like if they went to one of the bigger schools in their areas.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think personally that part of it is that the talent is being now taken to some of these predominantly white institutions. There's a diversification of our talent, right? Our talent pool. So with the increase in the amount of African American students going to these predominantly white institutions, it's now taking some of those high achieving Black students that typically were going to HBCUs away from that and creating a different experience for them outside of the HBCU experience. I think Dewan made a really solid point that it's incumbent upon us to continue to educate and to talk about why HBCUs are a thing anyway, right? That there was not an opportunity for us to be able to go to predominantly white institutions. And now, although we may have that access, there's still some level of importance that HBCUs have to the culture. And if you look at some of the data, some of the lawyers, Black doctors are typically coming out of HBCUs, at least from an undergraduate perspective, and then attending some of these predominantly white institutions as their professional and secondary degrees. So I just think it's more so, educating our younger generation just about the importance of HBCUs and providing some historical perspective, as well as showing the options that are available through the HBCU model.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm happy to jump in and speak from just from
Okay.
a secondary standpoint. And so I agree with both of what my colleagues just said a few seconds ago. But there's also a gap in knowledge with high schools, right? So I work in a school in which prior to I got there, the person who was the dean of college, who was responsible for getting the students into school, downplayed HBCUs, right? And so when my kid, when you spoke to her about HBCUs, her narrative was HBCU is expensive. They don't provide money. Kids go, they don't finish, which in some cases is true, but that's also true for many institutions, right? And so she was kind of railroading our Black kids, particularly our gentlemen, into these white institutions, similar to what Mike Sante just. And so, we made some shifts around, what that narrative is, and still allowing kids to apply, still exposing kids to it. Like, don't discourage them. There's a lot of programs out there for kids to get the funding to go to schools, right? And so when you have this, a lot of schools around the country with this mindset or image that HBCUs are going to limit you, they automatically discourage kids, which is contributing to the gap of, I guess in this case, young black men going to HBCUs.
Yeah, I'll jump in really
Thank you.
quickly, and I agree with that also. So yeah, looking at it from an educator perspective as well, I think we need to get more organized in our college and career planning in the high schools in terms of really exposing not just our young black men, but just overall, just our high school students to the HBCU option, right? And how do you do that intentionally? You don't zero in on HBCUs like in February for Black History Month. You have a continuous conversation throughout the school year, right? And really expose these students from the jump, right? And I think now we're kind of, and it's unfortunate that like we're virtual, but this is kind of a blessing in disguise in the sense that we can expose, our young students to all these different virtual, environments, right? And that's helping them to not only network but also learn like all the HBCUs that are out there and really give them an opportunity to like get connected to these institutions. But it has to start from the beginning of the school year, right? It doesn't start in February. It has to start, it has to start in September. So, and you have to have a continuous conversation and really have intentional, career fairs, right? Have like 3 times a year, like have a HBCU college and career fair, right, in your school. So these are the things that we have to do because we have to create this new narrative about HBCUs and our high school population.
Yes.
I guess I'll tap in here. I just want to follow behind Mr. Cox. I think it's about accessibility and also about just being visible. I think if we tap into the prominence of what HBCUs have in each HBCU and the alumni portal is important. I think, we always hear about great alumni, but we only talk about it, once a year around homecoming or when we have panels and stuff like that. But let's start talking up the prominence of each HBCU and in each category, whatever field it is, bring them to the forefront, and let's start doing career fairs all the time. Let's just make it a thing. You know what I'm saying? Let's normalize being visible and accessible, and bringing that to the city kids. I'm from New York City, so a lot of times, if it wasn't for like other family members that went to HBCUs, I wouldn't have known. And sometimes, I think a lot of inner city kids miss out on that. They don't get to see it as much. And so the visibility, the prominence of each institution and tapping into alumni matters when we're talking about, bringing the numbers up for HBCUs.
I would agree with everyone said. To add to the points that was previously mentioned, I think we got to just be real with ourselves. And look at, as somebody who has worked for almost over 10 years with young people of color, in particular, men and women. I understand pretty much there's a lot of just negative factors that play into them not wanting to go to college. Number one, we have pretty much this is just the generation that I feel like we live in now, of instant gratification. Kind of just going into basically, well, I gotta work hard, pay all this money, and guarantee I'm gonna get to that. I mean, know that went to college, got a degree, but are in debt or unemployed. All of those things factor in. I think also the about just like we gotta just in that path and that journey to complete college, we were able to just be surrounded by other Black men and women that pretty much just unintentionally or intentionally pushed us to just try and surrounded by people that are pushing them to to go to school or to finish school or to just push them to just really just take their education serious. Even again, when you think not only us, but also just pretty much other groups, is just pretty much the rappers, the athletes, the entertainers, and pretty much how they got money, how they got pretty much all the materialistic things that we all kind of just want or desire, or whatever. And kind of just like when you kind of know their stories or kind of just or see them more times than not, there's no kind of talk about from any of them about going to college or just pursuing your education. So that message is not being pretty much promoted out there, on a larger scale. I think indirectly you're going to have more students who are going to look to basically figure out whatever it is that these people have done to get to the point where they're pretty much getting money, they're on television, all that type of stuff, rather than go the route of just of going to college, studying, reading, paying for school, and then all that comes out of it is just a degree. That makes sense. So that's pretty much how I see things. And again, I speak to a lot of young Black boys all the time about college, and as soon as I say college, they get turned off right away. So I just feel like that definitely factors in as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I really agree with all the points that you guys made. It is definitely sort of like a competition between this instant gratification generation and and those that are like looking for colleges, universities. I will say though, I think about when I started my journey at Johnson C. Smith in 2000. I remember like the dormitory was like its own community. You would go to classes and hang out in the yard. But then when you were inside the dorm at Liston Hall, shout out to Liston Hall, I remember it was like a community, and we would hang out, play the game or whatever you have. And I remember thinking back to when I started in 2000 and when I graduated, a lot of the guys that were in the dorm that I became friends with, they didn't graduate. Like I saw them freshman year, and then I didn't see them. Maybe I saw them again, sophomore year. But after that, and I often wonder, like, what happened? You hear people say, "Hey, what happened to Mike, or what happened to Travis?" And so this sort of goes into my second question. What are some key resources that could benefit men of color as they plan to enroll in college? Because I think it's one thing to get them to apply. Okay, we can motivate them, encourage them, give them access to these college fairs and these alumni chapter events and all these great things and these college tours. But once they get on campus, how do we keep them on campus so that they actually have a successful collegiate experience and they actually graduate with a degree? So, and sometimes what happens is there's a disconnect between resources and support systems once they actually begin their college experience. So question number 2 is, what are some key resources that could benefit young men of color as they plan to enroll in college?
I think for me, I'll speak on this on my personal aspect of it, is that coming into school, you don't really know. For me, and I can only speak for me, but I think this speaks for a lot of African Americans, especially now. I work in a detention center where kids have gotten a little bit of trouble, behind bars for a couple months. Is that they really don't have a sense of direction. So when they first come in our program, we do what is a career assessment, just to kind of see the skills that they enjoy doing, what career path will fit them, and how they would enjoy that. And I think if colleges would do more of that, you won't have kids switching majors back and forth and going into classes that are not interesting to them and they do not meet their skill levels. Our young men are good, skilled with, they learn hands-on. For me, it wasn't just sitting, in front of a class and taking notes. That wasn't my strength. But if you show me how to do something, I'm going to do it right away. And so there's other people that, their strengths are, they can take great notes and learn that well. And so I think colleges, they have to kind of figure out a way to pique the interest of the kid so that they're not wasting their time in a major that, that one, wasting money, and they're not motivated to go to class because it's not interesting to them and because it does not meet their skill level or what they're good at. Now, again, we're always going to have to do something that we may not like or we may not be as good at. But I think we start with the career assessment of what type of career you want to start. I think that would kind of keep a lot of our, not just young men, but young women as well in school, because you're doing something that you enjoy doing and you're good at.
I'm happy to jump in. I think that there's a lot of things that can be done, but when I think about kids who are successful in college, there's some sort of, in terms of what I've seen in my career, there's some sort of runway that kids have during the summertime that can get them set up for success. And so there are a lot of, like Johnson C. Smith, we had Golden Bull, that was great for an orientation, but what I would love to see is some sort of way that in which schools identify where kids are coming from and what did their high school grades look like, and have them do some sort of 3 to 4 summer week program in the summertime to get them acclimated, as well as just give them a runway to complete college. Right. And so there's studies that have been shown that kids who do that summer program, right, they do go on and immatriculate through college and they actually finish. Like that's been proven. So I do know a lot of these white institutions, respectfully, I know they do that. I wish HBCUs would do that as well. That could serve as a resource for kids to actually finish, right? Because they gain a sense of connectedness. They also just get a taste of what the rigor or the learning is going to be like. And then there's a sense of community in which they form relationships with students on campus, as well as the older upperclassmen that's running the program, as well as the administrators. And so I'm noticing that when students are dropping out, or not finishing, it's because there's that sense of connectedness is absent. Could be a reason. So I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really strong point that you made, Dr. Obas, just about creating those summer bridge programs and providing them an experience to understand what it's like to be a student. What I think could be something that could be helpful is options. I talk to a lot of students who've already matriculated into college, and they have this one track mind that I have to do this one thing, and if I'm in this major, there's only one thing that I can do from this major. I think exposing them to different options that are included in a particular major, and saying, look, even if you're not able to go down this exact path, you have these options that are available to you, and that almost provides some more drive for that individual to kind of see through the program. I feel like when we get into this space of, this one track mind, and that if I'm going to go into, if I'm a sports major and I want to go and major in sports management, I have to be a sports agent. And if it's not that, it's a complete failure. And that's just not the case. There's so many different avenues that are available in these different industries and these different majors. And I think exposing those students during that first year or through the summer bridge program, as Dr. Obas mentioned, could provide them with some additional options and ideas in order to move forward. I know that when I got to Smith, I didn't know, or I couldn't tell you that this is what I was going to be doing, 10 years after I graduated. But I knew that there were a number of options that were going to be available to me, and I was going to be able to test those out, because when you're a student, that's your ability to experiment with things. I tell folks that all the time. Folks are more inclined to give you an internship as a student than they are to give you as a working professional. So use that opportunity that you have as a student to experiment. I mean, schools are set up for you to have some failures. It's a system that is meant to bounce you back up and bring you back to where you need to be, but also experience some failures at some point over the course of your career, because you are in fact going to experience some failures throughout life. So why not experience these failures in a controlled environment?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that, and I think for me, I think we need to also look at the social, emotional, and mental health well-being of a college student, right? Whether you go to an HBCU or a PWI. I could just be real transparent with you guys. When I was in college, I had times where I was going through depression, going through like fear, all kinds of emotions, and I had to literally take some time. And I believe it was in my sophomore year. I had to take some time to see the college psychologist, and I saw that college psychologist like for a while, like every week. I had sessions with that psychologist every week. So I think we need to also talk about that, especially in our community, just how important your social, emotional well-being and development and mental health is as you're journeying through college, because it is a grind and it is tough. And for some folks, it's you need that support system, right? You need to be in an institution that values your social, emotional well-being, and your mental health is not just your talents, is not just your athletic ability. It's like, are you doing well inside, right? Are you even spiritually, right? Whatever your faith base is, like, that school, that institution, that you signed up to, they're invested in your whole well-being. So I think that's something that we need to look at, as well as probably a reason why students don't finish, because they're just too stressed, right? It's not even a financial issue. It's just that they just give up. They're too stressed. It's just too hard, and they didn't feel that sense of support in the school. So, but part of that, and I, again, speaking for myself, like, I needed that therapy, and it's okay, and really encourage students to say, hey, if you do need to schedule those sessions while you're a college student in that HBCU or whatever college, that's okay, because what's important is that you're healthy.
I wanted to just add, I think one of the things that's important, as far as keeping young men engaged in school, is a support system being something, whether it's a social group, just team, club, even and sometimes I know, even for me, when I went to Hampton, had having a couple of professors that kind of just took me under their wing and kind of just was there to support me through my journey. I think that like a couple people already said, sometimes when we're going through the struggles, the ups and downs of college, can feel like a lonely time. I think that the more you feel that you're part of a group or people genuinely kind of just care for your overall being, I think the chances of you kind of just staying engaged positively goes up tremendously. So I think just having a support system is important. I think again, going to HBCUs, I think that when I think about social groups, I always think about the sports teams or the fraternities, which is definitely cool. But I think that now it would be great to see more social groups that are not just based around fraternities or athletic teams. I think that's something that can definitely increase engagement as well.
Um, Pretty much everybody said everything that I would have said. But I think what's important is having a direct connect, though. Like you said, more support system, uh, more community, but somebody direct. Maybe if like it was a big brother, big sister thing, maybe there's a program where we connect the upperclassmen with, a freshman or somebody, an incoming freshman, and they have a direct connect and not make it more like a mentorship, but more like guidance and like a big brother. Because sometimes with mentors, I know I had plenty of mentors, and I didn't go to my mentors for every single thing. So some things I kind of held back on because I felt like, well, at this level, they just want to know about my academics. So they just want to know about, if I have financial support. But those upperclassmen will really support me because they're on campus, they're going out, I'm coming in, so they can kind of support me on that level. So I think, to your point, community is huge, and having other people, other social groups outside of sports teams and fraternities and sororities, but people that can play like a big brother, big sister, that can align with where you are at your journey.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys for that. Definitely agree with everything you guys said. Um, Before we go into the third question and discuss it, I want you guys to think about COVID-19. We're still living through a pandemic. Um, and while a lot of people have mixed emotions about this experience, right? This is our first time living through a pandemic. But some people would say, 2020 was a hard year. Like, just cancel 2020. Everything went bad, everything went left. While a lot of people had that sentiment, a lot of people, through social media or what have you, you see that a lot of people really took this pandemic and really were able to pivot and make the most out of this situation. People went back to school. People started businesses. People, chased their personal goals and became entrepreneurs, what have you, right? So, and think about this pandemic and how it may affect um, young men of color. What are some things that we can do as a community to teach them to pivot? Because I think that that's a skill that um, that in order to be successful, people should learn and learn it fast. But because it's easy to be a black man and say, hey, you know what? I'm up against the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm up against mass incarceration. I'm up against police brutality. I'm up against all of these things. I came from an impoverished background. Parents didn't go to college. Parents can't really support me financially through my college experience, so I'm not going to school, right? But how can we as a community teach Black men of color to really pivot and make the most of their situation so that in going to college and choosing to further their education, they actually are pivoting and possibly empowering themselves and their community? What can we do? How can we, change the narrative?
Marcus, that's a deep question. Because what I'm hearing is, how do we teach kids
Yes.
resilience? That's, for me, that's essentially what it was, right? COVID-19 hit, as you said, some of us bossed up, and some of us, remained stagnant, for lack of better terms. And so when you think about being resilient, you go through things, and then there's a period of reflection where you are able to point out, A happened, this is how I responded, here is the lesson that I learned from it, and here's how I'm going to apply it to myself going forward when I cross this bridge again, right? And so I'm not sure there's one particular, like, I don't think it's like the magic pill you can give to kids to learn that. I think what we can do as brothers on this call, as communities, as institutions, right, as leaders in our fields, right, when these types of things happen, connecting with some of our younger folks to help them through that reflection process of some sorts. And so it can look like many different ways. I think Brother Cox spoke about just that social and emotional therapy. I think that was your Brother Cox that mentioned that, right? And so, again, as we're leading these institutions with our young men, right, we have to create the space, create the conditions for us to have that moment of reflection with them, so they can understand and then gain the mental wherewithal to build that resiliency muscle, right? So all of that to say, creating the conditions to help our young brothers reflect, and we can point out, like, help them point out. We can't tell them you did this or you did that, right? We ask these higher order thinking questions so they can think it through, creating these conditions. But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, that's a deep question. Let's go for that one.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what comes to my mind is some sort of, I think, along with the lines of what Simon said, but some sort of apprenticeship, right? A lot of times, these young individuals in our communities are just not aware of what goes into the day to day of some of these roles and jobs that they think are cool on its face, but really don't understand the background and what it takes to be successful in some of these positions. So I think exposing the younger generation to what it is, what a day in the life would be like for some of these roles, I think could show them that you might have wanted to be a lawyer today, but tomorrow you could be a principal, or the next day you could be a stock trader. I think some sort of apprenticeship program, or selecting individuals within your community, getting to know them, understanding to what Dwan said, understanding what they think or what characteristics they have could be successful in certain fields. I think it would be beneficial in showing them this or flexing or working out this resilience muscle that Dr. Obas referenced earlier. So I think maybe putting them under the wing and showing them the way, right? Exposing them to different things. I think a lot of times the exposure to different fields, industries, and professions are just not there. I think somebody mentioned earlier that what we see is, rappers and the athletes, but we don't see some of these other cool professions that also provide you the access that may not provide you the same compensation, but the access is all part of that compensatory package that provides that successful and fun experience for you. So I think some level of apprenticeship, and in those spaces, you're creating those conversations to support the mental and social well-being of these individuals who you're putting under the wing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like both of my colleagues said, that's a very, very deep question. Question at the same time, because this pandemic has, like Doc says, has kept some people stagnant, improved some people's generational wealth, and has also devastated some people that they're in a position now where they don't know where they're going to live. So I think as a community, is kind of what Michael was saying is expose these kids to entrepreneurship opportunities where they're learning different career aspects. But the one for the Black community disconnected, I feel, is when there's opportunity out there in the community or the city or wherever you might be from will present that information. They don't make it to me as plain and simple to the African American community. I'm a part of a lot of boards in my city, and like I tell them all the time, you guys don't advertise to the younger crowd where they're going to be. They may put up a flyer. Kids are not looking at flyers. They're in social media. They're all about music. And so if we're not meeting where they're at, we're not going to where they're at, they're not going to see those opportunities. And so you see the same, folks at these opportunities where if our kids were notified or their parents are notified, they will be there. And so I think for me, because I can only speak for me, but I think all these brothers on this call, our call is to expose our kids that we come in contact with. They're going to be, if it wasn't for, and I came from a two family home where both parents were great, but if it wasn't for a gentleman named Clyde Ellis exposing me to how important education was and what education can afford me, I probably would have been one of those kids, Marcus, that you went to school with and said, "Well, hey, where's Dewan at sophomore year?" But I realized, I realized the importance of what education can get me, and figuring out along the line over the years what I wanted to do. 'Cause I'll be honest with you, I have a criminal justice major and I have a master's in education leadership, but what I love doing most is real estate. And I didn't realize that till later on in life, um, by being exposed by somebody that is not of my skin color, exposed me. And so I think now my objective now is to expose other young men about the real estate game and say, hey, this is how you can do something like this on the side and make a killing, and build that generational wealth. I think we all on this call have a specific that, I believe in God, but everybody has a specific gift, what you believe in. And it's up to you to figure out what that gift is and use it to full potential. And so if we can all, as a community, expose our kids and show them their gift, I think they're going to be farther along than we were, or than I was. Can't speak to everybody. You all might be billionaires on this call.
I want to chime in behind Mr. Thomas. I think also it starts with entrepreneurship care packets. And what I mean by that is just giving them the simple tools, right? Like, how do you make a to-do list? How important is it to wake up early? How important is it to know what time means throughout your day? Making some type of a board, a vision board, doing that, normalizing that more often, than we normally do. Not just thinking of, making a New Year's resolution, but making it real, every month, making vision board parties and doing stuff like that, giving them things that they can utilize in their growth. Because, making a to-do list, doing vision boards, things like that, being able to write down my goals and follow through on it. Waking up early during a pandemic has been huge, for a lot of people, but they don't understand how to tap into that. So just giving them the small things that they can tap into. And I just call it entrepreneurship care package, because with a simple pen and a pad and telling somebody, hey, just write to-do list on top and, jot down 10 things that you want to do throughout the week. And then it, spills over into a month and then to a year. Those things are what we see at the end of a year and what we'll see at the end of a pandemic that's, made or breaking a lot of us, today because of what we followed through on. So just giving them the tools to follow through on those things. And I think we will see a lot more success stories, especially during this time.
Dope.
Only thing I want to add to that is just pretty much, collectively, we just all got to be consistent. Just really just simple. I know that sound very basic, but obviously, rightfully so, because we all have different things going on. We go through different things, good and bad in life. We have a lot of things going on. We have all have families, friends, whatever other interests. But I feel like just no matter what, we have to find the time to be consistent, not only for ourselves, but also those that we're looking to pretty much support as well. And I think that really just solves a lot of the issues. Just consistency is something that I feel like is very, very valuable.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with it. I agree with everything you guys said. Like, really just like I'm sitting here taking notes. I'm moderating, but I'm also taking notes because, I'm inspired by, everything that, each of you have shared, or whatever. Before we get into the Q&A portion of tonight's broadcast, I just want to ask each of you, like, what's your motivation? Like, what motivates you to be the best version of yourself each and every day that you show up? Be it in a school, be it in, real estate, career counseling, radio, being an entrepreneur, Toyin. Like, what's your motivation behind you becoming like the best version of yourself? Like what motivates you?
I can start off. I would say for
Okay.
me, it's just really just showing my peers and those from the younger generations that anything is possible. That we have all the resources, we have all the connections, all the talents and skills and abilities to basically break the cycle and kind of just break through from whatever oppression, racism, or any negative connotations that there are out there. We can pretty much break the cycle. And I feel like we have to be able to just not only just talk the talk, but we have to walk the walk. We have to lead by example. We have to pretty much just show them the way. And again, like I just said a few minutes ago, we just have to be consistent. So I feel like that's what my driving force. I want to really, give the next generation of Black and Brown men and women, hope and aspiration, opportunity to let them know that anything is possible.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say I guess what motivates me is helping others. I mean, I think servant leadership is something that I prescribe to on a daily basis. I think in this role that I have now, I have an opportunity to provide resources and opportunities for student athletes to be successful and to be the next positive generation or the next future leaders, I guess. So I think for me, what motivates me most is having the ability to help others and then see the growth that this assistance has provided in others. So that's probably would be my number one motivator. Is getting up every day and knowing that every day that I clock in, I'm helping somebody achieve a goal or a dream that they have.
Awesome.
I think for me, I think it's being a farmer. And what I mean by that is, if you look at agriculture, not everybody is planting the seed. Somebody's watering, somebody's digging the dirt. So I look at myself as that person where, okay, if a young person or, a young adult comes into my life, like, what is my like role as that farmer? Am I planting a seed? Am I watering that seed that they have because somebody else planted that seed? Like, what's my role for this person in their given season? So I think that's what motivates me is that I'm part of a bigger plan. You know what I mean? Like I'm part of a bigger goal that that God has set for me. You know what I mean? Having my faith in God, one, but two, just moving as like a farmer and just being aware of, okay, who is this person that I'm interacting with, and like what is my role for their life at that moment, and making sure that I do the best that I can as being a farmer, and cultivating that relationship, and cultivating that growth, and making sure that they're accomplishing what they need to accomplish, and being okay with having them move on to the next farmer, having them move on to the next person that's going to help them in their journey, and if I'm still part of their life, great. But if I'm not, I trust that the next person that's going to meet with them is going to help them out.
I agree with all of my colleagues. I guess I'll offer a different perspective. I don't want to, be redundant. I think when I think about where we come from and in our history, like how dare we not be the best that we can be on daily basis? Like how dare we be mediocre? How dare we not give back to the community? How dare we not give back to the youth? How dare we not give back to young Black men? You dig what I'm saying? And so for me, that's what drives me. We are all in positions to impact another person, and that other person whom we impact, Lord knows what they're gonna do tomorrow. You dig what I'm saying? And so like it's our duty. It is our duty to go back and touch many lives, right? No one man can rise above the condition of his people. So if we found just a little bit of success, just a little bit that we have to go back, and it's our responsibility to enlighten the youth or even adults at that. I think that's part of the Black agenda. I think we need to come together to like make that happen. And so that's what really drives me, in addition to what everyone else has said on this call.
I think for what motivates me, and I agree with all the brothers on this call. But what motivates me is my family, my kids, by leaving them a legacy. I have a duty to make sure that I'm leading them by example. And every day I wake up, that's my ultimate goal, is to make sure that I'm leaving a legacy for my kids and for my grandkids or my great grandkids I never ever may not ever meet. And so that's what drives me. I also believe, like Brother Michael, is servant leadership. That's what I'm all about. I'm a leader in every position I hold, but I don't lead with an iron fist. I lead with servant, showing them, hey, I can get my hands dirty. I can get in there because I want them to know that, hey, I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wouldn't do. Just because I'm the minister, the leader, I'm willing to pull, pants and legs up and get down and dirty with you as well. So for me, it's just making sure that I'm aligned with um, one with God, and two that alignment that I'm also dragging my kids and my wife in that same alignment, so that we're all on the same page and that we're successful. And also two, helping the youth. I think we're all on this call for a reason. We could be doing numerous things at this time. We're all successful African American men that are probably extremely busy, and so just us giving this time to call, I know you all have a big heart for African American males, and that's who we're speaking to today. And so I applaud each one of y'all to be in on this call this evening, because it took your time that you could be doing with something else. And so with that being said, I think our hearts also is what motivates us all, because we want to see the next young man, the next young lady be successful, do better than us, and also show them that path of those mistakes we made. I tell my own kids this all the time, because kids think they know it all. I say, all I'm trying to do is take you down the path where I made my mistakes, so you don't go and hit that same pothole as I did. Now, if you want to go and hit that pothole, you go right ahead, but I'm going to do my best to show you that pothole, go around it or jump over it. So that's what my ultimate goal is to show these kids, hey, don't go that same route I did, make that same mistake. Go ahead and prepare yourself early, so you don't bump your head like I did.
Awesome. Thank you, brothers. I'm inspired by each of you. Thank you so much for that. So now we're at the Q&A section.
I think we got one more.
Actually,
yeah.
did I miss somebody? I'm so sorry. Sorry.
It's all good.
Sharif, my bad, Sharif. I'm so sorry.
No, y'all said everything that I really wanted to say, but I'm gonna chime in this way. My family motivated me. My grandmother, my mom suffers with multiple sclerosis. My dad beat COVID. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I got a bunch of stories that I can tell of why I'm motivated and inspired and why I'm here today. But my biggest mentality is what we've seen leave just this year, right? We lost Nipsey Hussle, we lost Kobe Bryant. So my initiative and my influence and what I care about is offering a mentality, leaving not just a legacy, but a mentality for younger generations to follow. So I go by, my last name is King, and I go by the King mentality, which is every day is a Wednesday. You're always a champion if you just think about starting over and winning over again. Wednesday is my favorite day of the week because every day is a Wednesday. You can win every single day if you just change your mindset and your mode. With that as a King mentality that I want to instill in each and every person that I cross paths with, my peers, my colleagues, anybody that I meet and greet with on a daily basis. I want to leave them with that mentality that you can win each and every single day. Kinging is not just what you do, but how you do it. And you can do that every single day. So it's about a mentality for me, for Generation Z, the millennials, and anybody else who wants to follow along. As African Americans, I feel like sometimes we don't have people there to show us where we need to go to help us navigate that map. So I want to create that mentality so that everybody can follow, and that is me doing my part.
Awesome. Dopeness. I'm just inspired by each of you. I really appreciate you brothers for making yourselves available. We were really excited when we put HBCU week together, and just listen to, your responses and like reading your bios and just hearing, you guys speak. I'm really inspired by each of you, and I'm sure the audience is as well. And so now we're going to move into the Q&A segment of the broadcast. I think there may be some questions in the chat. I'm going to ask someone from the HBCU Hub to sort of put the questions up on the screen. Okay, so thank you so much. The first question comes from Tanya Sutton. Tanya says, are there mentorship programs to support new students of color and ongoing throughout their college years? Okay, so Tanya Sutton is asking, are there mentorship programs to support new students of color and ongoing throughout their college years?
I would say I know when I was in college, there was a mentorship. Like Doctor said, we came in the summer and we continue that throughout our 4 years. And so, they're not going to advertise it. You're going to have to seek it out. There's going to be also other mentorships in whatever major or company, career-wise that you would like to, career path you decide to choose. And so part of it is going to be on the work of you, Ms. Sutton, of finding those opportunities, but they will be on campus. Again, you just have to, navigate and find those opportunities and ask, your counselors, ask your professors. As soon as you get on campus, I would start asking those questions.
Thank you, Dewan. Okay. Are there any other questions? Let's see.
I think there's one question in the question box. Is there anything you wish your high school counselor did or did not do when applying to college?
I'm happy to jump in there. I'm going to answer this from what I've. Oh shoot! I'm going to answer this from what I've seen in high schools. What I wish they did not do is railroad kids into particular schools that they deem to be top tier, that they believe is best for kids. I wish they would stop doing I wish they would stop projecting their values and beliefs about academia onto children, in particular Black and brown children. I wish that would stop.
Yes.
What I wish many schools or high schools would start doing is helping kids realize pros and cons of going to whatever choice you want to go, right? And, from financial aid to the major you want to choose to, how it impacts you from a social and emotional standpoint. And I think through that process where you put the onus on children, it just helps them develop their muscle brain and their level of resiliency around what they can expect going forward, right? And so that is what I would like to see college counselors do, because again, I've seen schools where college counselors literally hold kids' hands and tell them, you're going to apply here, you're going to do your FAFSA on this date, right? And I've also seen the opposite where college counselors are 1,000% absent. So I think it needs to be a partnership where there's consistent, there's meeting times, but the role of the counselor is more so, I'm going to counsel you, I'm going to guide you, right? I'm going to present you the facts, and you have to come to this decision with your family. That is what I wish would happen more, as well as not happen at all.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think what I'd like to see a little bit more of is maybe some sort of a larger comprehensive plan with ultimate end goals, right? Where do you see yourself after graduation, even if it's from high school? Let's start to talk about what are you going to do to achieve those type of goals. So putting together some sort of plan as a freshman, and obviously that plan can evolve and can change over time. But there's a couple of things and a couple of different paths that we need to start to look at so that we can do the prerequisite steps that are needed to achieve whatever these goals are. So I'd like to see, us not focus in on going to college during the or secondary school or vocational school or whatever it is you're going to be going to in that last year of college. I think, or high school, last year of high school. I think that's something that we could work on a little bit each year, right? Your freshman year, let's start to talk about what a resume is. How could you create a resume? You're going to start to work now. even if you're not having this experience you think might be good for certain roles, any job experience has transferable skills. So I think developing some of these skills that are going to be needed in the real world is something that we can start as soon as we get to high school, and not necessarily once we get to that senior or junior year where you're trying to focus in on class and be the best student possible, as well as do these other things in preparation for your next step. So I think maybe starting a little bit earlier about the path and the plan creation, I think is what I'd like to see.
Yeah, okay. If I could add really quickly, I think for me, my personal experience with my high school counselor, it was very narrow. She only exposed me to like state universities. I wish I was exposed to, HBCUs and just other colleges altogether. And it's funny, I ended up working at a HBCU for, a brief period of time. But I would say, high school counselors need to be more like personal trainers, right? Because personal trainers, there's this intimacy and there's this investment with the person you're training at that time, and there's also this open dialogue, right? So the real good personal trainers, they're asking a lot of questions. They're like, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? What do you see like X amount of time from now, whatever? And then they also give you like a plan, right? To give you a nutrition plan. I think the same thing is true with high school counselors. You need to give students a plan, right? You need to hear their story, hear their goals, and try to formulate a plan based on what they've shared with you. And even if they're not sure, that's when you expose them to different, opportunities and see like what their interest could be in based on that exposure. So I think, high school counselors need to be a little bit more intentional in the relationship dynamic, and be more like a personal trainer, because you're helping the student reach a goal, and once they reach that goal, it's like you're helping them get to another level of success.
Uh, I would say for me, I wish that my guidance counselor would have instilled more confidence and more bravery, to be able to jump out to any school, no matter where it was. I think my counselor kind of frowned upon the fact that, schools were maybe too far out. Or it was like, maybe you should stay, within 3 hours away from your family. Don't go too far. And I think if my counselor would have instilled more confidence and more bravery and just more boldness, I think a lot of my peers would have gone further and would have achieved at different HBCUs rather than staying close. So I just wish that there was more confidence instilled.
I think for me, I agree with Brother Curtis, Mr. Cox, is those relationships. A gentleman that gave me an opportunity to be in administration, he talked about is relationships, and I think for a high school counselor, if he or she doesn't have the relationships with his class or the students he's working with, they won't be able to instill those confidence in kids. They won't be able to develop that plan because they don't have that relationship with the kid. We're all different, and we all require different attention, different requirements. And so, if you don't have the relationship, just like if you're married or you have a significant other, if you don't have a relationship and communicate well with your significant other, that relationship's not going to last. And I played high school football. I can't even remember my high school counselor. I don't know her name because she didn't build that relationship with me. It could have been a male. I don't know, but he or she didn't build that relationship with me. But there's camps I remember, and there are people that pointed me in the right direction and say, "Hey, here's opportunity for scholarship," which should have been my guidance counselors. So I think for me, in my experiences, it's those relationships. I know on my high school, being my college counselor, like Mr. Curtis, I had a tough time being all over North Carolina. I had to have meetings with her because I was homesick, and so I remember to this day we communicate on Facebook, and so that relationship would never ever go away because she built that up front.
The only thing I would add to everything everyone's just said is just I wish the high school counselor gave not only myself but also just my other classmates as well. Just exposed us to more opportunities in more schools outside of just pretty much the like kind of just the proximity. I think that again, I had to kind of just like, wasn't for different worlds, if it wasn't for like the certain shows I watched when I was younger, I would have never really aspired to go to HBCU. But I went to high school for 4 years. I don't think there was ever a mention of a HBCU ever while I was there. So just pretty much just just showing the students who are looking to go to college the various different paths and the different type of schools that are out there. I think it's something that I wish my counselors did for me.
Awesome. I could definitely agree. A different world really changed the game. Like what I was looking for Hillman. I don't know how old I was when I realized that Hillman was just a made up institution of higher learning. So I was definitely looking for that when I decided to apply to HBCU. But I just want to shout out my high school counselor, Mark Dwayne Dean. He's on Facebook. I don't know if he's watching or listening, but he was definitely the motivation for me to apply to Johnson C. Smith University. He was a product of South Carolina State University, and he loved his alma mater. And so I remember being in high school, and he would always talk about state and homecoming, and he was in a fraternity, and so all of those things really motivated me. So shout out to Coach Dean for planting the seed in me in high school. Okay, so we now are like a few minutes from closing remarks. So
there's a question.
Oh, it's another question. Okay, so can you read the question? I'm sorry, I can't.
The question is, what advice do you give to a young man who does not know which way he wants to go?
Oh wow, I like that question.
I can answer that immediately.
Okay.
I think that gotta find. If you can't find it, ask the people around you to help you kind of just find your passion and find your interest. I think that's everything kind of just surrounds from that. Doing things that you love doing or doing things that you're really good at doing. I think is pretty much the first step in pretty much, figuring out what's your purpose in life.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think that initially, I think that there's an exercise you need to go through, a reflection moment to figure out what is of interest to you, right? Figuring out the areas of your interest, and then maybe building back and writing out a list of different options that are available that fall kind of within these areas of interest. I also think that cold emailing people, reaching out to people. Again, I referenced earlier this apprenticeship and this shadowing. I think that's an opportunity for you to do that. I think that shows a lot about your character if you're already doing that in high school and doing this level of introspection and this going through this exercise of experimenting and figuring out which areas would work for you, which things don't work for you. And I think that almost puts you in a better position for when you get to college because you've had a good number of experiences in different spaces and know what you've done and what you don't like, as well as something that you might be interested in, as well. I mean, the lyric that comes to my mind is from Swiss Beats. There's a million ways to get it, but you got to choose one, right? So figuring out what those million ways are and figuring out which one works for you, or which couple work for you, right? But there are a number of options out here, but I think that there's some reflection that needs to happen before you start to go out and figure out what you want to do.
I'd like to jump in too on this question is sometimes we're motivated by the flashy green bucks. So, Brother Tony, Toyin, I'm sorry, he said, what you're good at, what you're passionate. If you enjoy doing it, you're not going to worry about the money. And once you enjoy doing it, you're going to be the best. You're going to be the expert at it, and people are going to pay you because this is something you become an expert at. And so you may start out not making and barely paying your rent, but eventually, if you keep plowing at it, you'll become an expert, whatever field that you enjoy doing. And you may take a couple tries of trying different careers till you find that one career path that fits you. So I would say to a young man, don't give up If if you feel like you're not making the money you should, but if you're enjoying the job and you're enjoying what you're doing, then continue to do it. And again, the money will come. And I know sometimes that's tough to hear when you're in that position. But trust me, there are plenty of people out there that have been in our shoes that really don't know what they want to do, and then they find their lane and they stick. A man that comes to mind is Pastor Eric Thomas. If you don't listen to him, he's a great motivational speaker. He stuck to his lane, and now he's a multimillionaire. And he doesn't just focus on himself. He brings other brothers on to help him in different avenues, his real estate, different business ventures that he decided to take on. But he stuck to a lane of every day getting up every morning and making motivational videos, by himself with a cheap camera in his basement. So whatever you enjoy doing, stick to it and put wholehearted 100% to it, and the money will come.
Yeah, I would add quickly, also with that, like pay attention to your circles, right? Pay attention to the friends that you carry, the friends that because they can influence your choices. They can influence how you view things, right? So, I'm a firm believer, like if your inner circle, if your closest friends are not speaking life into you, then they're not your friends. Because it's either they're speaking life into you or they're encouraging you, or they're speaking death into you, and they're speaking death into your hopes and dreams and your passions, right? So really be careful and pay attention to your friends and your circle of influences, right? If you have this idea or this vision, can you trust the people in your circle to share this idea or vision or this plan? And if they knock it down, then you need to rethink that friendship, that relationship. You want to be around people that's going to say, hey, you should consider that, you should explore that. And I would add is the right now develop that this idea of finding that mentor, finding that professional entrepreneur, and reaching out to them, right? Use LinkedIn, like use even IG, like send a DM, right? And be like, hey, like I love your work, I follow you all the time. Like I think now is the time is to get really bold and really intentional in just connecting with people, and you just never know. Because part of the things that we as human beings like, and I think we're all susceptible to this, is that we love telling our story to somebody. So if you can reach out to somebody and say, hey, I would love to learn more about your story. I would love to learn more about how, how did you get to where you are? I would love 10 minutes of your time. Like 9 times out of 10, that person's going to respond and say, yeah, I would love to tell you like my success story or just my background.
I don't want to be redundant in what people said. You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm not saying anything. No need to beat the dead horse. So co-sign with what my colleague said.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like we have another question. What specific things can the HBCU Hub do to reach more Black male youth? What specific things can the HBCU Hub do to reach more Black male youth?
I would say, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, sorry. No, I was just gonna say, I think posting consistent activities and opportunities for young Black males to be engaged in. Again, like I used the word several times tonight already, but consistency is very important. So just hosting, monthly activities or events that can engage young Black men.
What I'll say is, and this is the last comment, because I got a roll. For those of you listening to that's on the call right now, get our email addresses. Find a way to get in touch with us. We're all on Facebook, right? Be proactive and reach out. A brother just said, "Can I get 10 minutes of your time to speak about your success story?" And so I'm saying all that to say, like, don't necessarily wait for what's the next event. When's the next this going down? You got to be hungry with this. You got to be, you got to chase it and create the opportunity, right? That is how you're going to get ahead. That is how you're going to meet people and network. You dig? So sure, we'll host these events and we'll take the time to, to talk But the flip side of that is you gotta want it. So if you don't take somebody's email address tonight and email one of us by within 24 hours or even by the end of the week, you wasted this opportunity, because we would love to continue to chit chat with you all. All right. So
Thanks,
that's
Simon.
what I would say to that question.
Yeah, thank you,
bro. Y'all be good, fellas. Peace. Yes.
I think for me, to answer that question is what can the hub do next is why do you think majority now kids want to go to predominant white schools? So figuring out how to reach them in a marketing tool. I mean, I'm just telling you, you got colleges, you have businesses spend millions of dollars a month on marketing and advertising. And so I follow a lot of HBCU people that create clothes, people that market for HBCU, and just continue to get the word out. A lot of celebrities are now wearing HBCU gear, and just there's so many HBCUs out there that I'm just still learning about and hearing about right here in the state of Florida. They're literally an hour away from me. So just kind of just letting our kids know that, hey, you don't have to go to Florida State. You don't have to go to UF. You can go to Edward Waters, and you can get the same education, same opportunity, and be around like-minded individuals that that share the same goals as you, and promote inner culture within ourselves. Again, like I said earlier, I think the opportunity, this social injustice, I would say opportunity has presented for the African American community, to me, from where I've seen, has come together. You have people on the social media, support Black businesses, which, as you know, in our culture, we have not always been that way. And that is a great opportunity for the HBCUs to pivot in and say, attend your HBCUs to support the struggle of the past. Because again, it used to be a time we weren't allowed into predominantly white schools. And I think just marketing that aspect of it, and when the kids get on campus, providing a great experience. Because again, when you go to predominantly white schools, I've visited both. You have an experience, and if we're not providing an experience for these students, they're gonna go where they feel like the experience they had, and that was even with me, where I felt like, okay, man, I had a better time here. Not necessarily party, but more or less they showed me everything they had to offer. Showed me the nice dorms. They showed me the nice classrooms. I met the professors instead of you coming on campus and those professors are not on campus. They're gone for the day. Their office hours are done. The dorm rooms are not clean or up to par. And so that's what, HBCUs do have to compete with that, because, these white predominant colleges, they have more money. But at the same token, HBCUs also has a golden nugget that they have, and they just need to use it. And to me, it's more on the marketing side of what I feel HBCUs need to do a better job of.
I'm going to jump in too and say it's definitely about tapping into your resources and things like that. But I think the bigger effort is unity. I feel like when people graduate from HBCU, sometimes they don't come back. They just get their degree and it's just like, hey, I'm done. I went to Delaware State University. I went to Johnson C. Smith. I went to, Howard, wherever, but they don't come back. Any contribution is a huge contribution. So getting any and everybody to come back, everybody who's ever attended the HBCU, and to speak on their experiences, and each one teach one and bring one. So not just teach them, but bring somebody that will align with somebody and if a professor had a strong influence on you, introducing somebody to that professor, connecting the dots, going as far as making sure that we're united as one. Because I think in order for us to really get to that next stage, we have to, it's numbers, right? Like we have to come together. We got to be together on LinkedIn. We got to be together on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that in order to see and be visible. So I just think that in terms of pushing forward and making sure that we're helping out and we're visible is being united, together and pushing. And no matter what HBCU you went to, if you went to HBCU, you're still my brother because you went to HBCU, you understand what it was like, and we can build off of that. It don't have to be the same HBCU, but understanding that unity is important, is vital.
Awesome. So we're 5 minutes out for the end of the broadcast. So any closing remarks that anyone would like to sort of share at this time? Any closing remarks? We're 5 minutes out from the end.
Yeah, I would like to, thank you, Marcus and your staff and those that was involved in putting this together. This is great conversation. Thank all the brothers that on call this evening and those that are watching. Wish you all the best. Stay focused, stay motivated, and good things are going to happen. If you just stay focused and stay motivated and stay consistent. I think brother Toyin, he mentioned that consistency. Consistency is the key to everything that you want to do. And so, God, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dewan. Anybody else? Any closing remarks?
Thank you, Marcus, and great to be, with you guys this evening, and just, really, we need more spaces like this, and I encourage everyone that's, watching is, get into a safe space where you could have intimate, transparent, and, vulnerable conversations, because I think once you're in those safe spaces, then I think real change can occur. So I think going back to the previous question on what HBC Hub can do, I think it's creating more spaces like this where, professionals, students, administrators from schools, we can all get together in an intimate space and have real dialogue about the change that we're talking about and the consistency that we're talking about, and really come with real, some real steps and real, solutions. So I think, I thank you guys for, again, creating a space, but, I encourage, all my young folks is find that safe space, find that community of support. If you don't have it, reach out to us, reach out to HBCU Hub, because this is for you. This isn't about us. This is about, everyone that's a part of this HBCU week. So thank you.
Yeah, I just will kind of echo what previous two brothers just said. I would say, each day is an opportunity, and it's incumbent upon you to use that opportunity for success. I mean, to set yourself up for success. Right now, this generation probably has the most accessibility to some of these industry leaders that we've ever seen in the past. So make sure that you're using all the levers at your disposal to be able to catapult yourself into those successful positions and into success generally. So, thank you for this opportunity to chat with everyone. I definitely learned a lot from these brothers that are on the call, and fortunate that I had a chance to spend some time with them.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes.
So just wanted to say that as I'm speaking to the black folks that are part of the conversation that are watching, let's continue to pretty much build, support, mentor, and just be there for each other. Let's not make this shouldn't be something that's trendy. This should be something that is part of our lives, personally and professionally, as we continue to grow older. I think for me personally, I always say that the change that we as Black folks want to see in society, and want more opportunities and more financial freedom and independency, and just pretty much just equality and equity. I think it starts with us supporting us first and foremost. We have to stop depending and looking on other people to come and save the day for us, because other cultures do not do that at all. And I feel like once other cultures see Black people intentionally unified and supporting each other on a regular basis, I think that people will respect us more.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. First of all, I want to say thank you, Marcus. I want to say thank you to all the gentlemen that joined me today on this panel. This was really dope. I'm definitely inspired leaving this panel. I think for me, I really want to leave people with staying connected. I'm going to do my part by following all of the guys that are on this panel and keeping up with them and what they got going on, and just support. Support means a big deal. If it's a repost, if it's a retweet, or just following what they're doing, and maybe supporting. I mean, entrepreneurship is big, but buying something and not looking for something back. A lot of times we do something for clout, or to say that we did something to make it seem like we deserve some type of pull for where somebody got to, or the elevation of their career. Just support, stay connected with one another, and just focus on helping each other up that ladder. Because what happens is we move up the ladder, and once we get to a certain level, we're kind of like, oh, we're on this level, we're on this tier. We don't look back. So continuously stay connected, continuously stay focused, and build up your peers. Focus on aligning with what everybody else around you has going on, and with that, we'll never lose. It's a Wednesday. Love it.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, brothers. Definitely enjoyed the conversation tonight. I'm inspired. I'm sure the audience is inspired. Shout out to the HBCU Hub. Shout out to Nicole Barnwell, who's the founder. Shout out to my fellow board members for the Hub. If you watched tonight, hope you enjoyed the Black Male panel. We talked about low enrollment numbers of the Black male on our historically Black colleges, universities, campuses. Hope you were inspired. I hope you definitely are assertive and reach out to the panelists, to establish, build some sort of relationship. Follow us on Instagram, the HBCU Hub. Follow us on Facebook. I'm definitely inspired. I'm going to share my favorite quote with you guys as we end tonight. It's by the late, great Maya Angelou. She says, when you give, and when you learn, teach. Or when you learn, teach, when you give. And I love that, because I think that as we move forward, that really motivates each of us to reach back and, motivate someone else, and share our knowledge and our resources with others that are less fortunate, so that we can continue to empower ourselves and each other. Thank you guys so much. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed tonight's conversation, drop your comments in the chat. Don't forget to follow our wonderful panelists, and continue to join us for HBCU Week. We have a week long activities, great things. Sunday, we kicked off our community service project. Yesterday, we had a virtual HBCU fair. Tonight, we had the Black Male panel. There's so many other amazing events taking place in the week. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see the scope of the work and what we have going on. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. Take care.